Today's session, the topic is the three mental temperaments. And we're continuing our study of Swami Parthasarathy's magnum opus, our modern scripture, Vedanta Treatise, the Eternities. So last week, we concluded the first half of chapter 4. And in this session, we cover the last two topics. What we're going to be studying is one of the unique contributions of this philosophy, the three mental temperaments, because no other philosophy gives us such a practical guideline of categorizing our thoughts. And with that, our nature, with that, our actions, our feelings, and in certain sections of the Bhagavad Gita, it even categorizes your food, your type of gift, your type of steadfastness, what kind of consistency do you have? Now, what these three temperaments do, or an explanation of them, is it gives us an idea of how to assess ourselves. So when we find with the physical body, it's very clear we've got metrics in place to understand what our health is. There is BMI. In one of the resorts that we recently visited for lectures, it gave us a full analysis of the physical body. What is your muscle mass percentage? What is your fat mass percentage, etc., etc. So you have an idea of where you need to improve, which vitamins you may be deficient in, we can tell from blood tests. But when it comes to the state of our mind, the state of our thinking, where are these guidelines? Where are these metrics? Vedanta gives us the tools to figure out where we are, but it also gives us an idea of what self-development, what improvement, what perfection looks like. And when we know where we would like to be, but we also know where we are, we can start on this journey of improvement. So let's get into it. The three mental temperaments are sattva, rajas, and tamas. They're just terms. You can call them A grade, B grade, C grade. And all human beings are made up of these three, in different combinations, in different permutations. So one of us might have 20% tamas, high rajas, let's say 50% rajas, 30% sattva. Each of us has got a different combination, different permutation, and that accounts for the difference in our personalities. Now let's go through each one and see what we identify with most, where we'd like to be. And keep in mind, it's not that our whole personality might be one particular texture or temperament. We could be one of those in a particular area. So in exercise, we might be C grade. In terms of learning, we might be A grade. In terms of relationships, we may be B grade. Tamas. Tamas is the lowest mental temperament. There is no refinement of the mind. There's no refinement of the intellect. In fact, there's no feeling. There's no higher thought. There's no thinking. You're a stone. In fact, the literal explanation of it is you're asleep. You're awake, but you're sleeping. You're not interacting. You're not engaging with the world. You're not thinking, heedless. This is tamas. Inactive, lazy. So qualities like procrastination, not thinking of the consequences, being heedless, being reckless in our behavior, indifferent. This is tamas. Indifferent means no feeling. Higher than that is the quality of rajas. Most of the world would fall between these two, tamas and rajas. So in the rajas type of temperament, there is activity. It's dynamic. People are acting. But the problem with rajas is it comes with a lot of agitation. And with that agitation, mental disturbance, which causes physical ailment. So you would find that this person does not have inner wellness, highly disturbed, but extremely productive, may be successful. Most of the world, because of the glamour and the veneer means like the outer covering, the shine of the busyness and the productivity, we think rajas is what there is to aspire to. We want to be so busy, so busy, so busy that we don't have time to have a proper conversation. And some people think it's a great thing. It's something to aspire to. Look, I'm just too busy to talk to you. I'd really like to. You know, Sudhakar, I've been meaning to attend these classes on Sundays, but there's just a lot happening in my life. I didn't ask for your autobiography. This is rajas. Now, what is the difference between tamas and rajas? Activity, yes, but agitation. Full involvement, full attachment in whatever you're doing. Is it possible to act otherwise? Is it possible that we can be active, but not necessarily get attached, possessive, involved? In short, can we take up duty, work, responsibilities, obligations, without them being a headache, without them being burdensome, without them being heavy, without them compromising our health, our peace of mind, our mental availability, sometimes our clarity of decision making? Is it possible? Yes, it is. Because the highest temperament is the temperament of sattva. And sattva means composed, serene, poised, mature. These are the synonyms for sattva. Literally, it means purity. There's no confusion. There's no dilution. There's no mess. Your thoughts are in clear state of being. Now, what is the picture that comes to mind when you think of composure, serenity? Perhaps you imagine a sage sitting outside a cave, deep contemplation, sitting on the banks of the Ganges. It's a beautiful picture, serene. Or perhaps it's at a spa or on the beach. This is our picture of serenity, going for a walk in the woods. Vedanta revises this picture of serenity. It says serenity is whatever you're doing, wherever you are. It doesn't matter the activity. So you could literally be in the marketplace, in the office, and you could even go so far to say, on the sports field, in the boxing ring, in the battlefield, and be sattva. And that's the context of the Bhagavad Gita being set, this highest conversation of philosophy being set in the midst of just two armies of converging. They're just about to start. And the commander of one army is having a chat with Krishna, his friend and teacher. You're getting the highest philosophy on the battlefield. And what Krishna tells Arjuna, it says, fight, So when you think about fight, action, you immediately go to, okay, rajas. We need the passion, we need the activity, we need the intensity. And Krishna is saying, no, hold on. Yes, fight, but do it at sattva level. What does that mean? It means you do what you need to do. You're 100% in, but you're detached, not involved. Absolutely clear about the scope and the extent of your activity and why you're doing what you're doing. It is conscious being, conscious acting. There's a movie out on Netflix at the moment. It's an animated version of Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. And I would recommend it. And what he says there is he goes through different topics as he goes through the movie. And one of the topics is about work. And the one villager offers him some grapes that he's harvested. And he says, but what is my grapes compared to the words that you give me that make my soul soar, that give it solace? And he says, no. The character in the prophet, the poet, he says, all work is noble. There's no superior work, there's no inferior work. It all has its place. Work is love made visible. That's an expression of love. Now, can you say the way you make a meal for your family, the way you do the dishes, Debbie, is an act of love? Vasu, waking up in the morning, perhaps getting the kids ready for school, is that an act of love? You say, no, Sudhakar, it's an act of frustration. Change it. Change it. We're at Rajas level. Who asked you to have children? Who asked you to make it a burden? Make it frustrating. Change it. Do not accept it. This is Rajas level of functioning. And we're content. We say, look, I have kids. It's got to be like this. I've got to pay the bills. Work has got to be like this. I have to be agitated because then it means that I'm not working, and then it means that I'm not paying my bills. No, it does not have to be like that. It can be sattva. You're doing exactly what you need to do, but without the hurry, the worry, the blood pressure, the blood sugar, and possible heart attack. Do it gracefully. This is sattva. So you're acting, but you're completely in control of what you're doing. That passion has been managed. The desire for whatever you want to achieve is under control. It's not keeping you up at night. And because you're able to be in the present, you're that much more effective, happier, lighter, sharper. You pick up details. And that's why, I request for the videos to be on, because I'm present. I'm with you now. And hopefully you are too. And I'm getting feedback from the slightest movement that you do. It's giving me information. Now, we possibly miss that because in a conversation with our family or while we're having dinner, we miss all the small details, the small signs, the small things that they're trying to communicate to us because we're not available. Our thoughts are elsewhere. When we're at home, we're thinking about the office, the clinic, the school, perhaps we're teaching it. And when we're at work, we're thinking about home. Why do we complicate things? A human being's goal is to move from tamas to rajas to sattva. So how do we go about it? From tamas, you can't go directly to sattva. It's unrealistic. How do you go from not having any feeling, not having any sharp thinking, to being detached. You have all the feelings, you have all the emotions, but you govern it, you manage it, you're in control. To have passion is a virtue, but don't let the passion consume you, where you're not able to sleep, where you're not able to relate to those around you, where you lose everything at the cost of your passion. To have sentiment is touching, but do not become sentimental, where you become a victim of the sentiment. To have emotions. Emotions is what makes us human, no doubt. A stone, a statue, a plant doesn't have the refinement of emotion, doesn't have emotion. But what makes us different from animals, why a human being is more evolved, is because we have the intellect to govern and manage those emotions, those instincts. Not let us become a victim of it. One of the people we met recently, we were talking about giving. And we were saying about how even with giving, we have to be discriminate. So we should not be a victim of our good emotion, which is to share, to offer compassion, to service. She said, but what about if family needs help? If they're in a tough situation? I said, you have to do the due diligence. You have to check, are you actually helping? Or are we making it worse? And she said, no, I can't do that with family. If family asks me, I just give. It might actually be doing them a disservice, making them dependent on you, not getting them to understand and realize their situation and change their lifestyle accordingly. You're not helping. Sometimes to not give is the giving. But that emotion, you want to please them. And it's a positive emotion, but tattva is when you're governing it. So let's have a look at how we move from tamas to rajas, and ideally from rajas to sattva. So have a look at this diagram. Tamas is inactivity. There is no action. So what do? We've got to put activity in there. And this is where we would use incentive, we would use desire, get ourselves moving. Where? From tamas to rajas. Swami Ramatirtha says, all the lectures of Swamiji, these Sunday classes, other great thinkers, they are of no avail. They will not help you unless you are prepared. Anyone? Unless you are prepared for what? All the lectures that you hear will not help you unless
we are prepared to reflect on the knowledge and practice it.
That's it. Ramatirtha puts it more poetically, Paresh. He says, unless you are prepared to lecture to yourself, you need to lecture to yourself. We've got the information. We're receiving the information, but then you've got to lecture to yourself, and that is reflecting. Yes. You're having this conversation with yourself. Say, come on now. How long has it been? I've been trying, or I've been wanting to wake up, get the most out of these early mornings. Why is it so difficult? What do I need to do to change it? What do I need to do to make it happen? Why are the early mornings valuable? So it's having the lecture to yourself. And this is how we move from tamas to rajas. We've got to lecture to ourselves, get ourselves going, whoop up the emotions, the desires, the incentives. Come on. You feel good. Let's try it. Let's do it. In fact, if you wake up tomorrow and you exercise, extra coffee. Example. Get into activity. But the problem is, once we start getting into activity, we slip into the rajas mode. And the rajas mode is we get involved in it, we get attached to it, we get possessive about it. And the reason why we do that is it's as if we don't have any other gears. We go from no activity to full attachment in the activity. There's another way. There's a middle path, or there's a higher path rather. Sattva. Another way for middle path is the path of detachment. It's one and the same. And it's this. The reason why we move from tamas to rajas is because we have desire, we're getting pleasure from the desire. We're getting some joy here and there. But the problem is, once the desire starts taking over, whatever pleasure you used to have starts becoming agitation, starts becoming friction, confrontation in our relationships, and bondage. So, for example, we start acquiring things, possessions, and you were fine before these possessions. You got these possessions with the idea of enjoying them, and suddenly now that you have the possessions, you're worried about it. What will happen if it gets stolen? What will happen if I lose it? What will happen if it breaks? And something that was supposed to add value to your life becomes more of a headache. What have we done? A man claims, do you see this mule? This mule is mine. I asked the man, on what basis? He says, can't you see? I'm holding a rope, and that rope is tied to the mule. Therefore, the mule is mine. But turn it around, the converse. Can't we say then that you belong to the mule? Because by the very same logic that you claim the mule is yours, aren't you tied to the mule? This is exactly it. In as much as you are possessed and obsessed about the things and beings that are connected to you, in as much are you possessed, bound, obsessed. Just in as much as you claim possession of anything, you remain possessed and obsessed. So you want to claim it as mine. You want to take control over it. You want to safeguard it. But understand, you're binding yourself to that. You're binding your happiness, you're binding your liberty. Does that mean don't have possessions, don't have relationships? Not at all. What are you getting rid of then? Anyone? So we're saying rajas is this possessiveness. What are you getting rid of? Don't have the mule?
The attachment to the mule.
The attachment to the mule. The minus in the possessions. There is too much focus on the minus. There is too much possessiveness over the possessions. Don't drop the possessions. Drop the possessiveness over the possessions that stops your enjoyment of what you possess. Now, people, again, they don't know how to switch gears. So they go to the extreme. No possessions. This is not what they mean by renunciation. Renunciation is lightness of the mind. It's freedom here. It doesn't matter whether you have or you don't have. In the scriptures, they give stories deliberately of showing men or people of renunciation who were paupers and who were kings. And the reason why they show both is because it doesn't matter what you have to be a person of renunciation. It is the value that you give it. When you're not obsessed by it, when you're not possessed by it, when you're not dependent on it, it doesn't matter whether you have it or not. You're a king, you're free, you're in sattva. This is it. See, even relatively, we can understand this. If you get a new car, so much of excitement, new car has come, and you enjoy it. But if you hit a pothole, if somebody drives close to your car, you feel it. You hit a bump, somebody dents your car, it's like somebody's dented your physical body. It's heartache, it's painful. But if it's a company car, you enjoy it completely. In fact, you might go looking for the potholes. Let's check the suspension. Here we go. Oh, this car's pretty good. We find how people drive a demo car when they test driving it and how they drive their own car. So different. Why? What's the difference? You enjoy the demo car, you enjoy the company car. Why? Because it's not yours. The people who enjoy children. No parent enjoys their children. It is the grandparents who enjoy the children. Why? Because that mindness is diluted. We put the mind there and mess up the relationship. Again, in this movie that I recommended, he says, your children are not from you. They come through you. They're not yours. They're life's longing for itself. But we want to put a my onto everything, thinking that it gives us more security. It definitely gives the ego a boost, but it causes more agitation. Not worth it. Drop the my, you enjoy it more. If you say my carpet and you're possessive about your carpet, you will not allow people to walk on it, or they have to have a pedicure before they step onto your carpet. Every aspect is like this. If it's a hotel carpet, you're so liberal, so free. Now, how can you have that freedom with what's yours? How can you take on the duty, the responsibility with that lightness? This is sattva. And sattva means you've got to have this higher education, these higher values. So either you're working for a cause that lifts you above the minus. So you're not interested so much in the minus and the possessiveness or getting attached because you're working for something higher. You're not interested so much in the wealth because you're working for the cause of benefiting others. So either you have a higher goal or you have higher values. So if we look at that diagram again, how do we move from rajas to sattva? We bring the intellect in by setting a higher ideal. Let us work for something bigger than ourselves. Otherwise, I'm going to resort to getting involved, getting attached, suffering. To the extent I am attached, that is why I'm suffering. The higher ideal sets us free. The higher ideal, the freer, the more liberal you are. The higher the value, the more you enjoy. So what is the logic of it? There's a sentence in the Vedanta Treatise. It says, from the balcony of the self, just see and watch the procession of perception, emotion, and thought go by. It means if you have the highest value, if you identify with the self, you're able to be detached and just watch all the perceptions, emotions, thoughts. It's yours. It's your own perceptions, emotions, thoughts, but there's no minus because the mind is connected to the self. This is it. Stand on that balcony and watch it. You're a king. But because our level is not high, we're at the level of perception, emotion, and thought. Anything that happens to you at the perception level, you get involved by what you see, by what you hear. She said that about me? How dare she? Do you know what I've done for her? This is how we talk. Such vindictiveness, such betrayal, such drama. Why is it so much of drama? You are your own living soap opera. Why? Because that involvement of the mind. In fact, you might even enjoy your soap drama, your soap opera, your personal soap opera, if we could look at it from the balcony of the self. Why aren't we able to be detached? Because we've not risen yet. When we see children playing and they're fighting, and you see your one child takes from the other child, and the son maybe pulls your daughter's ponytail, and you understand the children, and it's okay, children, fine. And the one might even take the other's t-shirt and use it. That's okay. You're the children. You're so magnanimous. You're so understanding. But for the child, it is heartache, heartbreak. How can they touch my t-shirt? Mom, it's my property. For the child, because the child is at the child level, it has so much of value. It suffers. As an adult, since you've risen above that, you laugh at it. Not laugh to the children, but you understand it's not so serious. Now the trouble is, because we've stopped growing, we get involved at the level that we're at. What our friends say about us, what the next person is doing, what our colleagues are saying, what's happening in the business, etc., etc., etc. How do we free ourselves from it? Exactly with what you've done with the child. Grow, become more mature, sattva. And then you're able to look at colleagues as adult children, balaha. When you see the family fighting, brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, they said balaha. People doing all sorts of things for wealth, reputation, power, corruption. How do you look at the corrupt? Children. They don't have higher values. Instead of anger, instead of you getting upset, you sympathize. They don't know better. They'll be suffering, unfortunately. So the way to go about it is to shift our identification. So a human being is made up of matter and spirit. So the material aspect, if you look at the diagram, is the body, mind, intellect. The spirit aspect, this balcony that we're talking about, the higher part, is the self. Now, if you're at the body level, you go through the roller coaster of life the maximum, because the body is the easiest to affect. If it's at the mental level, a little bit less. Undulations, fluctuation. If it's at the intellectual level, you can be pretty content. But even there, someone agrees with your view, doesn't agree with your view. Someone aligns to your thinking, doesn't align to your thinking. But if you move to the balcony of the self, then you are anchored. Then whatever happens to your body, mind, intellect, you can see it objectively. Why? There's no minus. There's no possessiveness. There's no attachment. Remember, whenever you are attached, there will be suffering. Again, quoting Swami Ramatirtha, because he's so clear about these things. He says, there is a law that any person, anybody in this world who will attach himself to any personality or worldly object shall have to suffer. Either that friend or object will be taken from him, or one of them will die. Look at the words he uses. That's why you can, when you're reading the book, it vibrates. You have to keep your hands still. So powerful his writings are. Or there will be a rupture between them. This is an inevitable law. So if you are possessive to your children, if you are possessive over your spouse, if you are attached, that relationship will have an expiry date. All relationships have an expiry date. You're just quickening its demise. Why? Because nobody can handle that possessiveness. It's suffocating. We're not designed for anything to be fixed. Why do you want to be bound? You bound yourself. You bind yourself, you bind others. Others cannot handle the bondage, they move out. You lose that which you are obsessed about most. So sad. Now, we've understood, we want to move from tamas to rajas to sattva. One of the ways of doing it, we mentioned, is activate desire, incentive. So we start acting. Once we start acting, change the reason why we act. Make the intention from being selfish to something bigger, a higher ideal. Get higher values. Identify with deeper aspects of our personality. Ultimately, the spirit, the self part of us, so we can be objective throughout. Now, this is displayed in the timings of the day. So we said we can classify many things in sattva, rajas, tamas. So can the timings of the day. And depending on which temperament you want to encourage, you can use the hours of the day. And here they are. So between 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. is sattva time. When I give this lecture, some people, they actually groan. Oh, because they haven't seen this part of the day ever. Then there's rajas, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and tamas, 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. What it means is that whatever content or quality of sattva or rajas or tamas you have, it is at its highest or at its best expression at that time of the day. Now, how they came up with this thousands of years ago, I don't know. It's an incredible observation. And you've got to try it out in the laboratory of your life to see that it's true. But some explanation. Looking at nature, looking at the day. Thanks. We can remove the timings. Some explanation is that period between 4 and 6, that period just before dawn, is called in Sanskrit Brahma Muhurta. It is the period of the creator. So it has the tenderness of just before the world begins, as it were. Creation is happening. There is this quality of reflection, of starting, of newness. That is the time for thinking. That is the time for strategizing. Not just the philosophy, any type of thinking, but rather use it for the right activity. Now, some people do wake up at 4 o'clock or 5 a.m. And what do? They do rajas activity. They go jogging, they go running, they go do Taibo, exercising. It's wrong activity, wrong time. After 6 to 6, when the sun is up, sunrise to sunset, you see the natural world is full of activity. Same thing with us. With the sun out there, we want to do activity. And that's when most of the world works. But after 6 p.m., that is where our thoughts get into that tamas mode, reckless, heedless. And this is where activities such as intoxicants, indulgence, gambling, this is where that kind of mindset takes place. Means it's more conducive. Have any of you been to a casino where there are windows? Where you can see sunlight? You go to Las Vegas, You will not find any daylight in any of these casinos because you will not feel like gambling when the sun is up. So they want to make it feel like it's an eternal night because it's conducive for that kind of thinking. Interesting. Even if you're a regular drinker, do you wake up first thing in the morning and like, where's my shot? I need my drink. But after work, after sunset, more inclined. We find even in relationships, we tend towards lust at night, more affection in the morning. It's the nature of that time of the day. So what we can do is, yes, it takes time to change our mental temperaments, but if we are sincere on improvement, on moving our thoughts from tamas to rajas to sattva, what we can do is make use of these timings. Bring that sattva into our day, try and minimize the tamas, rajas, of course, use it for activity. The goal of life is to move or reduce rather the tamas and the rajas. So the areas of tamas, we elevate to rajas, rajas we elevate to sattva. 100% sattva is called trans sattva. Means there's no such thing as 100% sattva because a human being is made up of all three. But if you get to 100% sattva, it can't sustain. It becomes a state called trans sattva, which is self-realization. This is what we are moving towards. And it's another way of looking at the same concepts we've been studying. Reduce the tamas, reduce the rajas, reduce the laziness, the inactivity, reduce the desire and the attachment. Move towards sattva. 100% sattva is self-realization. Now I want to give a picture of this self-realized person, or rather a sattva person who lives with detachment. What does a person of detachment look like in the world? And in the book, Vedanta Treatise, Swamiji includes the poem, Even This Shall Pass Away, by Theodore Tilton. And it talks about a person of renunciation, of sattva, who goes through the world. He's the king. He enjoys every aspect of the world, but he understands this is a passing phenomenon. This is not my real and lasting personality. So we'll read through the poem and get this feeling, get this idea of what we could be and how we can possibly react in these different scenarios of life. So here it is. We'll read together. Once in Persia reigned a king, who upon his signet ring graved a maxim true and wise, which, if held before his eyes, gave him counsel at a glance, fit for every change and chance. Solemn words, and these are they, even this shall pass away. I know people who have read this poem who have actually made the ring. Even this shall pass away, they've engraved on it. Or they put it on their phone or on their desktop, even this shall pass away. Constant reminder. In fact, Swamiji wanted, in addition to the malas, as part of the academy uniform, he wanted to make rings saying, even this shall pass away. But he decided not to go ahead with the idea because he thought that the students might use the rings for other ideas. Suddenly, at the mango orchard by our canal, we'll have proposals going on. So he said, okay, no rings. Now we're going to go one by one. First, the king of Persia goes through wealth. He goes through pleasures, company, parties. Then he goes through intimacy, sex, physical enjoyment, sensual enjoyment. Then he goes through the negative also, in terms of pain, disease, reputation, loss of reputation, and finally death. Trains of camels through the sand, brought him gems from Samarkand, fleets of galleys through the seas, brought him pearls to match with these. Treasures of the mind, O main, what is wealth, the king would say, even this shall pass away. Next. Mid the revels of his court, at the zenith of his sport, when the palms of all his guests burned with clapping at his jest, he amid his figs and wine cried, O loving friends of mine, pleasures come but not to stay, even this shall pass away. So you understand, in youth itself, in the midst of the party, this cannot last forever. No one enjoys New Year's Day. Why? Because they've gotten so involved in the New Year's Eve party that everybody's horizontal on New Year's Day. Why can't you enjoy both? Enjoy New Year's Eve, enjoy New Year's Day. This is Tattva. Rajas, it goes all out and then doesn't have the body, doesn't have the capacity to enjoy later in life. Pleasure, nectar in the beginning, poison in the end. This is Rajas. Tattva, it does take a bit of restraint, a bit of discipline, but you can enjoy throughout. Poison in the beginning, it requires early morning study, it requires discipline, but nectar in the end. You enjoy and enjoy, and you increase your enjoyment. Lady fairest ever seen was the bride, he crowned his queen. Pillowed on his marriage bed, softly to his soul he said, though no bridegroom ever pressed fairer bosom to his breast, mortal flesh must come to clay, even this shall pass away. How long can you go on chasing after sensual enjoyment? If you go all out, you will lose the capacity for it. By aging itself, you cannot enjoy what you used to enjoy. Physically, sensually, even food. You can't eat what you used to eat in your 20s. You'll have indigestion. Take it easy, go easy. It's okay. Whatever you do have, in that moderation, enjoy it fully. Understand what? Mortal flesh must come to clay, including your body and capacity. Fighting on a furious field, once a javelin pierced his shield. Soldiers with a loud lament bore him bleeding to his tent. Groaning from his tortured side, pain is hard to bear, he cried. But with patience day by day, even this shall pass away. If there's one thing you can tell anyone who's going through illness, disease, just repeat this. Even this shall pass away. And when should you remember it? Remember it in health also. Wildrant, he says, anytime you visit a person in hospital, congratulate yourself you are not one. Because so easily the roles could be reversed. A person in the pink of health, the next day, something goes wrong. I'm sure each of you have had some illness or the other that has happened. Feels almost out of nowhere. Understand, illness is a part, or ill health is a part of life. You have health, you have ill health. It'll pass. Maximum, the illness has to pass. How? Death. There was a lady who, she used to make her own concoctions. And she claimed that she had one ointment or one vial, as it were. And if you have this vial, it can cure any disease. Have any of you heard of this? Any disease, COVID, cancer, you name it. But she's still in the R&D phase because it, for sure, it will get rid of the disease, but the patient also. So she just has to take care of that one part and she'll be fine. She'll be a multi-billionaire industry. So what is the worst that'll happen? The illness will pass away. You may also. Okay. And that's what he says at the last verse. Towering in the public square, 20 cubits in the air, rose his statue carved in stone. Then the king, disguised unknown, stood before his sculptured name, musing meekly, what is fame? Fame is but a slow decay, even this shall pass away. So much value for reputation. And he puts it beautifully. He alludes to it. It's in the air. It's just talk. It's repetition. People talking. And just as easy as they talk, they can talk your reputation away. Don't give value to it. It's an idle, false imposition, repetition. Oft got without merit and lost without deserving. Now, if you get attached to that reputation, when it's up there and people are talking highly of you, smiling, reveling in it, when it's not there, you don't want it. Does any celebrity, once they have the fame, want it? They run from it. People have died running from the paparazzi. It's an invasion. But people who don't have it want that publicity, want that fame. And then when they're under the spotlight, they don't want it anymore. This is the nature of every desire. Understand it before you're famous, when you lose the fame. It's a question of time. All fame must be lost. And the last paragraph is about death. Even in death, why all this fear? You're born, you must die. Even this shall pass away. When it comes, I don't know, but I go without reluctance. Struck with palsy, sore and old, waiting at the gates of cold, said he with his dying breath, life is done, but what is death? Then in answer to the king, fell a sunbeam on his ring, showing by a heavenly ray, even this shall pass away. This is objectivity. And you're able to be objective because you have these higher values in life. You're like an actor on the stage. You play your role perfectly, beautifully. All your lines you do very well, but you're never affected, you're never dejected because you know your real personality is not the role that you're playing. You are the self, the real personality. You are Tom Cruise playing Top Gun in one movie, playing Mission Impossible in another movie. These are all roles and characters. There are ups and downs in it. You go through it, you have the emotions, the feelings, but you're never really affected because you remember, hey, I'm Tom Cruise just playing a role. Similarly, we are the self just playing the role of a father, a mother, a spouse, a businesswoman, a businessman, a teacher, etc., etc. They are called gunas. These are the three mental temperaments. Now, India has taken the philosophy and designed an entire work allocation system on these three mental temperaments. And the idea of this work allocation was to help and support people to move up to sattva and trans-sattva. And they came up with 4 castes. And we've heard about the caste system. And usually whenever we talk about it, it's negative. So the 4 castes, or the 4 categories, these are all different combinations of sattva, rajas, tamas. And these have been in the scriptures for thousands of years. Now, when we understand the theory and the logic behind it, you'll be able to understand how it was designed and how it came to be malpracticed and ruined and become the detrimental thing it is today. But let's get to how it was conceived. So the 4 castes were, the first was the Brahmanas. These were people of high sattva content, not so much of rajas, very little tamas. These were the thinkers. So the intellectuals. It's called the priest class, the Brahmins. Then when the sattva decreases a bit, the rajas increases. These people are more prone to activity, but they have a higher ideal. They want to serve something bigger than themselves. This was the Kshatriyas, the warrior class. They would be the defenders of the country usually. When the rajas picks up a lot more, but also the tamas, these would be the vaishyas, the traders, the merchants. So more about profit making, about earning a living. This is the caliber because it caters to that nature. More rajas, tamas. They want to fulfill their desires. And the last category are the shudras, means tamas. Tamas is so prevalent, predominant. They don't have the skills or the inclination to be warriors or thinkers, administrators, merchants. So what are they fit for? They need to do action. They need to do activity, manual labor to evolve. But the idea of this caste system is that it was not rigid. It had nothing to do with the family that you were born into. It was determined and decided upon your mental temperament. So every country actually has the caste system because it's based on your mental temperament. So what are you best designed for? So a thinker, a high tattva, reflective, contemplative person is designed for thinking, strategizing, policy making. A person with high rajas activity and honor is designed for defense, sport, honor, etc. And a person who doesn't have those skills yet needs to start acting, to start developing. So you can see how there was a lot of thought put in, and the structures were there were to help society move up. So it was very flexible. It was more recommendations, suggestions of helping identify which type of work can help you evolve. And as you evolve, you can move through the categories. Every culture, if you look at it, has this different categories. America, they used to call the brahmanas the brains trust, the thinkers, the academics. We've had, in India, we've had the warrior class. At one time, they were also kings. So it was designed to be a help. Unfortunately, because of foreign invasion, the foreign invaders took advantage of the system, made it a rigid and inflexible way of simplifying systems, categorizing, dividing, and making it easier to govern and manage. And that's how it's become what it is today. It's not meant to be. And the only way we can get rid of these divisions or these unnecessary barriers is through education, by understanding what it's meant for. Now, see, you could be a Kshatriya person by temperament, but your child may be a Brahmana or a Shudra. We've got to put the person in the field best suited for their nature and let them evolve from there. And as they evolve, they can change their expertise, their field. That's all that it was meant for. And it was all designed on one premise, to move towards truth. Cicero says, the main duty, the first duty of a human in this life is the seeking after and the investigation of truth. This is what Indian philosophy, the Indian system was based on. It was meant as a guide to move everyone up towards this sattva, towards transa, towards self-realization, the purpose of human existence. The trouble is, this knowledge is not known. And this knowledge is meant to be lived. And because this knowledge is not known, there is unnecessary suffering, sorrow in the world today. It's unnecessary. So one thing is, suppose it is necessary. The person has to go through that kind of suffering to learn. It's not necessary. The knowledge is there. You can use it and save yourself so much of trouble. And if you are using it, you can share it and save others so much of trouble. And that's the reason why we're having this class. Having benefited so much personally from it and our family, how can you not share? Pass it on. Make people aware. When is the time to learn it? Anyone?
Sudhakar, do you mean the time of day or the time of life?
I'm glad you caught me out. I was hoping I would catch you out. I was hoping one of you would say between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., like what we covered earlier. I meant both. Yes, to study and learn this knowledge, ideally first thing in the morning, but we're doing it here in India at 8 p.m. What I meant is the ideal time to learn is before you get into life. So the Indian education system, the Gurukul system, they would imbue the youngster, the teenager, with this knowledge. So by the time they're 16 years old and reach adulthood, they're ready. They have a clarity about their personality, what their mental temperament is, what their work should be is, how they can contribute to society. They were clear. They would go out into the world and be this productive or best version of themselves, which would be a work in progress. Inspiring. Unfortunately, people have understood this knowledge or this philosophy to be a part-time, pastime, retirement hobby. And when we do have lectures that are open to the public, usually for the Bhagavad Gita, average age in the audience is 60. Why do they come? They got nothing else to do. Air-conditioned hall, the words of the Lord, oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Unemployed people, or to get relief from the house. There's a lot of nagging, a lot of conflict in the house. Come and listen to the Bhagavad Gita, a little bit of solace. No. The idea and the reason why we encourage youngsters, in fact, in the academy, the residential course, it's encouraged for those between the ages of 18 and 30, because the time to learn is before you've made decisions, choices in your life. You have the knowledge to know how to make decisions. What's best for you? You have a larger canvas to plan your life and direct it towards that ultimate purpose. This is the idea. The time to learn to live is before you live, or as early as possible. That's it. And to finish with is the story Swamiji gives right at the end. He talks about a person who wanted to learn archery. And he practiced and practiced and practiced, and he became a world famous archer. He was achieving 95% accuracy. But he said, I want to achieve 100%. Is there a person who has 100% accuracy, who always hits the target 10 out of 10 times? And he heard about this gentleman. So he started moving around, and he found in an area, every tree, there was a bullseye, and in the center of the bullseye, the arrow was there. Every single tree, every single target. This person had achieved 100%. He said, where is this? This person is my guru. I will prostrate to this person. I will give everything to learn this technique, this art, to move from 95% to 100%. And they found this man. He was all alone. People said, don't go near him. He's crazy. He said, no, I want to learn from him. And they brought him to this 100% archer. And the student, he bowed down and he said, you are my guru, you are my teacher. How is it that you are able to achieve 100%? He said, you really want to know? Yes. Send these guys away, then I will tell you. He sent them away. He said, please tell me, please tell me. To which the master said, it's very simple. The problem with you is you draw the target and then shoot. I shoot first and then draw the target. That is how I'm able to achieve 100%. Similarly with life, it's a humorous way, but similarly, the time to learn to live is not when you're at the end of life. It's not too late, sorry, for those of you who are in the twilight of life. It's not too late. We can always improve the quality and keep moving. But the ideal time, of course, is as early as possible. Share it, spread it, learn it ourselves. Move from tamas to rajas to sattva. Calm, serene, detached. Make all your work noble. That's it. So, just an announcement. We break here from this set of studying the Vedanta Treatise, these 6 sessions, and we will continue with our study. It will be like this as a module, and we will continue in mid-Feb. So, because we're stopping the classes, doesn't mean that you stop your study. All right, these are just teasers, trailers to get onto regular study. So what I'd like to offer each of you is feel welcome to reach out to me directly, either by email or by message. We can set up a Zoom meeting and figure out how to customize your study based on the time you'd like to make for the subject.